This Meet Kevin situation with his DUI just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Seems like every single time he uploads a video about this, the situation keeps getting worse. All he does is continue to make excuses for driving drunk or drinking and driving, and it just makes him look terrible. Yet he continues to put out videos about it because he needs to save his reputation. So if you didn't know, Meet Kevin got charged with a DUI. He had his DUI kind of body cam footage all came out, and that's when he panicked. When people started seeing that, seeing him act how he did in that video, and a lot of people turned on him, he had to do damage control because his reputation is the only thing he has in what his future endeavors and what he wants to do. So he's launching these 2 ETFs, he's launching his startup house hack, and the one thing you need to be able to make these successful is a good reputation and to be responsible. Because if you're not responsible, that means people aren't going to want to give you their money because you aren't even responsible with your own life. What are you going to be with somebody else's life and somebody else's money? So Meet Kevin opens up this video talking about how bad breathalyzers are, and they're so inaccurate and they lead to so many false DUIs. But in this video, he's going to use a breathalyzer to prove a point, but they're inaccurate, but not when he does it. It makes complete sense.
They were either deemed to be rigged by law enforcement departments to lead to more DUI convictions, and they've just been deemed to be inaccurate due to a lack of calibration or rigging or whatever. That's why studies exist today that show historically up to 50% of DUI arrests are based on breathalyzer results that are potentially off by 50%.
See there, he's not a fan of the breathalyzer, but this whole video is him using a breathalyzer to prove a point. So you can see how it gets a little jumbled up here. It doesn't really make too much sense. Why does he open with this saying how bad they are and how inaccurate they are, but then uses it to make his own point as long as it makes him look good, which in this video, whatever makes him look good. So it just doesn't make any sense why he does this.
What we're going to do is we're actually going to break the rules of the breathalyzer. We're actually going to break the rules of the breathalyzer. We're actually going to break the rules of the breathalyzer. We're going to take 2 shots of this. I want to measure my blood alcohol content probably in about 10 minutes. You should leave about 20 minutes before you use a device like this.
So big question number 1 with this experiment is why would you leave the door open for doubt? So you are trying to use this breathalyzer, which you've already painted doubt and you've already said it's inaccurate and it's rigged and all this stuff in the opening. But on top of that, you're going to double down and open up more doubt by not following the rules of a breathalyzer. So if you're supposed to wait 20 minutes before testing, why would you do it in 10 minutes? Why would you cut that down? Why would you add the doubt? If you're trying to make a point and you're trying to say how dumb these are and how innocent you are, why would you leave room for doubt? It just doesn't make any sense. Just do the whole thing the way it's supposed to be done.
But my goal in this video is not to try to make excuses or to really talk about an active case, but rather to provide some kind of unedited commentary and education about DUI.
So I got some bad news for this entire video. The whole point is to make excuses. The entire point is to make excuses, feel bad for me, and come off as someone who's an alcoholic, addicted to alcohol. You need to make these excuses to justify drinking and driving and doing it whenever you want. So the entire video, the entire purpose is to make excuses. It is to try to salvage your reputation, sound like the average person, but you don't realize that the average person doesn't look at drinking and driving and go, that's what I want to do. That person, that's a smart guy.
In addition to that, we regularly see that individuals like Elon Musk don't want to deal with regulation, not because the regulation itself is expensive. It's not that the traffic ticket is expensive or that the, dealing with the fine is expensive or dealing with the punishment is expensive. That's not the issue. The issue most of the time is the process.
I don't know what his obsession with the process is, but the issue isn't the process, because if you go down whatever route you did, if you drink and drive and say, God, the process is so punishing, what if you killed someone? The issue would be that you killed someone, not the process that you're going through. It'd be your dumb decisions led to someone innocent suffering a consequence of your own dumb decisions. So the process here doesn't matter. And I don't know why he's so hung up on the process. It doesn't matter. There's no process if you just don't do anything wrong. If you don't drink and drive, you don't have a DUI process. If you do drink and drive, you do have a DUI process. And if in your mind the biggest problem is the process, then you got very lucky because you didn't crash into someone, you didn't destroy property, and you didn't kill anyone. So you got very lucky. So the process is your reward for not doing something worse. And you can tell that Kevin doesn't actually even really believe what he's saying because he turned comments off on the video, which is the number one thing on the internet. If you ever see somebody with their comments turned off on any post on any platform, then they know that they're most likely wrong or whatever they're saying is dumb.
Defense in the world about how when you get nervous you talk funny or you make jokes, or which is like, that's one of the problems that I have. When I get nervous, I like say weird things, and I get nervous sometimes to the point where like I've got like chest palpitations, I'm like visibly shaken. It's really weird. Like nervousness takes over hard.
So did you see what he did there? Just changed his complete story. And I don't know if the video is still up on his channel, but the body cam footage, when the cop comes up, he says, sorry, officer, I'm from California. I'm stupid. Or something like that. And he's blaming that on being goofy, just being his own goofy self. That's what he said originally. And when people didn't buy that, now he's changed to, I was just so nervous and I start to tremble and I act drunk when I'm nervous, Everyone acts drunk when they're nervous. Kind of funny thing to point out where the story changed when people originally didn't believe it, poked holes in it and said, what are you talking about? Now he changed it from being his goofy self to just being nervous, and being nervous made him act drunk. And people can't poke holes and disagree with it because he turned the comments off.
A lot of people on a daily basis go to dinner, have a drink, and they drive home. And I would say for most people, it's probably worth not having that one drink or two drinks. Because quite frankly, you probably aren't going to feel it at dinner anyway, your one drink or two drinks. And it's just not worth you not being able to definitively say, look, had nothing, didn't have anything in the last 24 hours, right? Because that's a big question too, is like, if you're asked, hey, have you had anything to drink? Well, what do you mean? In like the last hour or like 8 hours ago, right?
Yeah, that's a typical response. If someone says, you had anything to drink? Well, what do you mean? Like in my entire life? Have I ever drank anything in my entire life? Is that what you mean? Like this is the beginning of this video where he sounds like an alcoholic. He sounds like an addict to alcohol. Like, sounds like he can't get through his daily routine without drinking. And to say people go out to drink and have a drink or two and drive, yeah, sure, people are dumb. But I would say people who aren't dumb would know, wow, I drove somewhere. If I have to drive back, probably shouldn't drink. It's a pretty typical thing. You don't really go somewhere and think, oh man, I can drive back. I'll just have 2 drinks and I can drive perfectly fine. It's that attitude until you can't drive perfectly fine and something happens.
If you're in a situation where you say, you know what, I occasionally go to dinner and I have a glass of wine with my dinner, and then after an hour you drive because you think, hey, look, there's no way I'm impaired because alcohol roughly metabolizes about 1 drink per hour. So if I just had 2 drinks, technically that would take 2 hours to completely leave my system, to be metabolized by my liver. Remember, I'm not a doctor or scientist or anything like this. 2 drinks over 2 hours, or like 2 drinks and then 2 hours and then be at 0, right? But then you can't definitively say, oh, yep, nope, had nothing within the last 24 hours.
So do you see it here? The big problem. It's like a glaring problem. He looks like this is a problem. Alcohol seems to be a problem for Kevin. If your thought process is, man, if I go out to dinner and I have 2 drinks in 2 hours, I'm not impaired. Don't know how you're gonna prove that. I mean, you're just gonna say that. Say, well, the internet says 1 drink is 1 hour and then it's gone. So the internet never lies. The internet is never wrong. Can't be wrong in anything. We all know that. And then to keep going on and saying, well, I'm not impaired, I can drive, and then going through the process of getting pulled over and getting asked, have you had anything to drink in the last 24 hours? And going, well, the internet says that the drinks aren't in my system anymore, so technically I didn't have anything to drink. No. What are you talking about? If you drank in the last 24 hours, you drank. It doesn't matter if you say it's metabolized, it's gone, doesn't affect me, the earth's rotating, I'm driving, something's going on. It doesn't matter how many stipulations you add onto it. If it has been 23 and a half hours since you drank in the last 24 hours. Like, You can't just say no.
The problem, because as soon as you say, oh yeah, I had one, oh well, now you look drunk and you smell like alcohol and your eyes are all of a sudden bloodshot, and oh, no camera can tell because the body cameras are like super crappy quality. It sucks.
So you can see it even more and more excuses, an excuse after an excuse after an excuse. It just keeps piling on. And these videos that he continues to keep making continue to make him look terrible. I don't know why he keeps putting them out. I know he's trying to save his reputation. He's desperately clinging on to it. He needs it to last so he can get the money for his ETFs and his startup. But these videos, just stop putting them out. You look terrible. You look terrible. You're just making excuses to drink and drive, and you know people don't agree with it because you turn the comments off. So you're smart enough to know people are going to watch this and say, what is this guy talking about? But you still uploaded it.
But if you're having a casual drink with dinner, what are you supposed to do? Taxi everywhere? I guess not have a car then, right? Or just wait the amount of time.
And again, another just excuse after excuse. But this one is weird. It's interesting because you can see how Kevin's mind's working, how he's thinking. Because there's only two options in Kevin's world if you go out to dinner. Either one, you drink and have to wait the whatever hours the internet tells you to wait so that you can drive, or two, you drink and take a taxi or an Uber. I got a shocking news for you, Kevin. There's actually a third option. You can go out to dinner and not drink. That's the crazy part. You can not drink and then drive and have no problems. So if that's not even an option in your head, I think we all have the answer we're looking for. You're an alcoholic. You're addicted to alcohol. The only way you view going out to dinner, you have to drink. There is another option. It is just simply not drinking. And we can finish this up with the no rules followed, fraudulent, wrong breathalyzer test that for some reason, when Kevin uses it, it's a completely legit test that no one has to have any questions about. But if a cop was using this, all of a sudden it's fraudulent, it's wrong, it can't test anything. But in this case, since Kevin's using it, it's the best data anyone can get.
But I didn't know this either, but apparently some of the modern breathalyzers actually try to remove what's in your breath. So after two, remember the legal limit is 0.08? After two drinks, we say, 10 minutes, so 2 drinks, 10 minutes. Yeah, that's like it's some time here. So it's doing some, oh, look at that. 0.01, 0.019. I mean, that's almost like 0.02.
So just kind of funny that, his entire stick in the beginning of the video is how rigged they are and how terrible they are. You should never use one. And then he uses it, and it's the best thing known to man, the greatest data. And look at that. He can have 15 shots, and he can still drive. He's Superman. I don't know, why he set it up to be so bad and then went on to use it to try and prove his own point. Doesn't make any sense. But this whole video is just very dumb. It comes off as and making excuse after excuse after excuse to drink and drive, that you need to drink and drive and you can get away with it. And if you are so obsessed with the number and saying, well, I can legally, it's not illegal for me to drive now. I'm drunk, but I'm not illegally drunk. Then you probably have a problem and you should look into maybe trying to fix that. Because if you're so obsessed with being able to do it legally, then you might have a problem. And there's an easy way to fix all of it where you don't have to be obsessed about the numbers at all. If you don't want a DUI, don't drink and drive.